You're listening to the Believe in Giants podcast with two-time Super Bowl winner Carl Banks and the voice of the Giants, Bob Papa.
This edition of Believe in Giants presented by FanDuel, along with Carl Banks, Bob Papa, and rinse and repeat. Here we go again, talking about another fourth quarter collapse. I guess the positive is like what we've endured the last couple of years, where you'd hope that the Giants can maybe get across midfield. At least they're losing in more entertaining ways, with chances to win these games. But all joking aside here, Carl, just another meltdown, and every facet of the team played a part in losing this football game, whether it was the defense, clearly, the special teams and a shank punt when you need a good punt, the offense having a chance to, put the bats away and really take this game and put it in a place where it's almost impossible for Chicago to come back in. They don't do that. And the end result is another one of these heartbreaking losses. It was pretty quiet on that bus and on that trip back, because I think people are starting to realize, like, the season's gone now, right? You're 2-8. Jackson Dart gets hurt, so there's your energy that's out of the building. And I think everybody's just fed up and tired of constantly just losing.
Well, there's a remedy for that. Play better, coach better. I can only conclude that this is a team collectively, all involved, that don't like nice things. They don't like nice things. There's no lead big enough for this team until the clock strikes zero. I mean, I think they just set a record for the most road losses while leading by 10 points or more. Is that correct?
I have to look.
A record, but it's this year they own it.
Oh yeah, they by far for this year have the most.
There's enough ranting, and justifiable ranting, I might add, by a lot of people in the fan base. And I just want to give some kind of sober observations, because though I would never get on this platform and advocate for coaches to lose their jobs, because I think, as things go on, those decisions kind of make themselves. When you continue to have performances that just boomerang on you, those decisions get made based on a results-oriented business. But here's an observation I have, and I was so confident that this defense would make some tweaks and, adjust the scheme just a little bit, and be better against the run. Now, you can look at the score in the first half and say they had 3 points. They had 10 points up until, the third quarter, and say, oh, yeah, they improved. They played better at their vanilla defense. But they still gave up big runs. They still didn't address anything that was sustainable, and not necessarily a talent problem. I think this defense has a math problem. The math problem is they don't know how to play with numbers. What you see is what you get, meaning if the Giants are rushing 4, it doesn't matter if Burns or Thibodeau are in coverage or not, it's still going to be 4 people. So the zone blitz thing, they never change the numbers. So the numbers always stay the same for the offense. In offense, this is how they set their protections. They count numbers and then they count threats. So at no point in the game did the Giants bring a fifth rusher. They showed a fifth rusher and dropped the rusher back. So they would bring a linebacker or even a safety, but it still was just 4 people. And you can't get the desired pressure when you're just rushing 4. Well, let me just take it back. You're getting pressure, but you're, against a guy like Caleb Wilson. If 4 wasn't doing it and 3 weren't doing it, then bring 5. Again, folks, these are questions that coaches and players can answer. And I purposely did not post a single word after this game because I wanted to listen. I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear what the players were saying because they, all of the beat reporters were getting these sound bites at players' lockers. Wanted to hear what the coach said. And then Wednesday, we're going to hear more from the coaches and the assistant coaches. But my observation is that, okay, you had a hold the rope type defense that played better. That's all you've been in all year. If guys can play well within, you're going to have some results. But you never really have played defense on your own terms.
Correct.
That's schematic, that's coaching, and it's also players. But I think it starts with how are you scheming? What are you afraid of? Now, there are instances where you don't trust your player, right? A Deontay Banks, right? When your basic numbers were what they were, you get 2 sacks and both are negated because Deontay Banks has an infraction. Then
Flott had an infraction on
Flott
another
had an
potential
infraction
sack.
as well. Yes. So then you say, okay, well, if we bring 4 and we put enough people in coverage, Caleb Williams was inaccurate. Well, if we're being totally honest, Caleb Williams missed about 4 major shots on the Giants.
Correct. He
Guys
had a
drop
Dunze
balls.
wide open.
Yes.
He missed a couple of wide. He had drop balls,
Right.
but he had a couple of shots where he had Zacchaeus in the end zone. He had Roma Dunze running free. And now he was throwing under pressure, right? Because it's when he was doing all of his freelance. But those are shots you got to hit, which I think is one of the reasons why people like what Caleb Williams is doing under Ben Johnson, but not in love, because those are the shots that the top quarterbacks hit.
Well,
that changes the whole game around.
There were a couple that went right through the hands.
Correct.
Chicago Bears player, and those hands, and they were wide open. They weren't contested. So back to the schematics of it. What poison are you picking, right? Are you saying you don't trust your defensive backfield enough and you just want to put bodies back there? Well, that's not necessarily working. You got by because, you had some key 4th down stops because your 4-man pressure was able to get Caleb on the run, but you couldn't get him on the ground. Now, the one thing bringing an extra person does, Bob, is it accelerates the decision making. It actually can make your cornerbacks' lives a lot easier.
Of
course. You can predetermine where you want the ball to go, where you want the receiver to go. And you can blitz accordingly to take away where you're susceptible. Like if you're bringing somebody off the slot, you got to get out to the slot and take that away? Are you going to blitz? The slot blitzer's got to get his hands up. All of these different things. Your numbers never changed in your run game. So these are just observations. Coaching will take care of itself. But if you can bring 5 on a pass, you can bring 5 on a run. Just line them up and discourage certain runs. That's what Chicago did many times against the Giants until the Giants figured out how to block it. So those are observations that keep showing up that tells me that there's something beyond ineptitude. But is there a trust factor? Is there a cadence that your coordinator doesn't have a feel for the game? They have to answer those questions, right? But I look at a defense that has never played on its terms. It's always kind of been in a reactionary mode, or in a, I don't even want to call it a prevent mode, but it's preventing certain things from happening. You're super cautious, and you're relying on your core 4 and just saying, hey, look, we just don't trust our defensive backs. And I don't understand. You got to have some level of trust. I don't know if that's the case or not. They can't stop the run. They did good, and then they didn't, right? They had a turnover opportunity, 2 of them, Fly, didn't get them. Got to make those. So and I looked probably at a quarter of the game, but it felt the same.
Yeah.
And if I'm an offensive, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, I mean, it's like, yeah, you could sit here and go through the game film and go coach's tape, but it's this game is the other game is the other game is the other game is the other game, right? No one's making winning plays when they have to make winning plays. No one's making winning decisions when they have to make. They've been outscored by 47 points in the fourth quarter this year. Only Arizona is worse.
Yeah. And I guarantee you, nobody has looked worse being outscored than this Giant team. It's almost pathetic. It's embarrassing because as a fan, that you can never feel like, hey, we got this one in the bag. Let's close this, bring it home, man. It's just almost like you're just waiting for something bad to happen. Now, another observation that I think the people who put rosters together, right? Shane Bowen and his staff, who I think a lot of, they're finding out that your real problems on your team can be at any position. They addressed it on the offensive line, right? And I'm going to show a quick example. Well, let me just say this first. Special teams has been the culprit in every loss, or part of the culprit in every loss this team has had.
Sure.
Kicker getting hurt, kicker missing, and then your punter, who just shanks one at the most important time of the game. You have to create the same level of competition. If I had to give advice to Shane Bowen, I'm not Shane Bowen, Joe Shane, you have to create the same level of competition across the board, especially, well, I didn't say especially special teams, but you shouldn't get comfortable, because the areas that had the competition produced the best results. The offensive line had the biggest competition going, and it's by far your strongest position group. The cornerback position produced Cordell Flott. It was a competition until the very end. Where you didn't have competitions is where you see a lot of sameness, right? Um, the area that you least expected to be going into the season, a problem. I'm sure some people will be like, well, we knew Graham Gano was iffy or sketchy at best, but the special teams units have to be more reliable. Offensively is an area that continues to get better. Were they perfect? No. This quarterback, and I know people saying they got to stop running him. He had 4 design runs, 2 were the result of a touchdown. The fumble, I don't even think that was the play that he probably was concussed prior to that. C.J. Gardner-Johnson had a big hit on him, unabated to the quarterback. There were a couple of other shots he took, and that one probably put it over the top. I didn't see it as a violent hit or anything. So that just, I'm no concussion expert, but I saw him take bigger hits. So I think the head coach is cognizant enough of the violence of this game, but he's also aware that this is a quarterback who can protect himself, but it's up to him to make the decisions. Like you said on air, he had gotten the first down. Now it's up to him to get down.
Well, I think
right?
he was thinking he was going to. I think he was thinking he was going to score. It was a power sweep.
Sure.
The ball
he got behind
punched
his
out.
guys.
If the ball doesn't get punched out, who knows how much longer he would have run?
Yeah.
It's not like he was in imminent danger. The ball got punched out, and then trying to get the ball as he jumped in the air, then he gets hit and he lands on the side of his head.
Yeah. So these weren't the shots that he took the week before.
No, Carl, you and I talked about this. I thought it was more reckless in those couple of games that were out of reach near the end of the game, where he was in there. And I had even asked you on the air, I think maybe it was the Philly game, why is he still in there? But if you're going to have him in there to continue to get reps, they were running design runs for him down in a game that was not winnable. This is a different situation. You're driving the ball down the field to maybe get a knockout shot because you just gone and driven it on him, and now you're driving it on him again, and like you got a chance to maybe make this get this to a score that maybe is not gettable for Chicago. Yeah. So I didn't have a problem with that part of it. Can I ask you something about the defense, Carl?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, all right, I don't want to sell anybody out, right? Because I don't know. But we talked with before the game someone who won a Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator and was a very good head coach in the National Football League. Not a great head coach, but a very good coach. And he basically said, hey, they do play pretty basic and stuff like that. There's talent there. And I go back to like training camp and everyone talking about when training camp opened, and not just this is national media people. And I talking about this defense could be unbelievable this year. The talent that they have defensively could be unbelievable. And the Coughlin thing kept sticking in my head. Talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. There's very little on the resume to say until they actually do it. Put it this way.
Yeah.
It's not like your Giant defense is of 84 and 85, and people sort of saying, hey, they've added a couple of other pieces here. Like, this defense could be unbelievable. Like, there's no proof. It's just, people were guessing. And it's proven to be very underwhelming. And, okay, so we could talk about coaching. But maybe also, like, the talent level is not as good as people think it is. I mean, you're missing your starting inside linebacker, Micah McFadden.
Yeah.
You're listening Paulson and Debo,
Right.
2 guys. Now, I watched the Chargers lose Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. Those guys are perennial Pro Bowlers. and they still are able to function. You're only missing 2 starters on your defense. How is this possible for it to be this bad?
Well, you have to keep in mind, Bob, a great defense in today's NFL, you only need 5 good players. The rest is supporting cast. If you give me 5 good players, and I can name 5 on the Giants that will tell me that they should be a hell of a lot better than they are. But again, we have to ask why schematically aren't they changing the math for offenses? And
Well, it's like the former head coach DC said. It's pretty basic what they're doing.
well, see, and that's the thing that really takes me out, because let's just say there's a cadence that an offensive coordinator looks at this Giant defense. Just count the numbers, count the numbers, count the numbers, right? Giants are holding the rope. They're making a play here or there. They're getting off the field, getting the offense back, the ball. Then all of a sudden, you're in kind of a dogfight in the fourth quarter. If you change the math, you probably win the game, because they're used to seeing you do the same thing for 3 quarters, right? Now, all of a sudden, you put an extra guy at the line of scrimmage, and they don't say, oh, well, Burns is probably dropping out, or Thibodeau's dropping out, and they're just going to bring the safety instead, or they're going to bring Okereke instead. All of a sudden, they all come. The math changes. They never change the math for the offense. Via in the run game or in the pass game. If you can't stop them sitting back, change the math every once in a while. Line your guys up in gaps, right? Predetermine where they're supposed to be every once in a while. That's what Chicago did. Chicago choked off everything going into the middle of the offensive line. Inside zone, they say you're not having it today. Then all of a sudden, which I give this offensive coaching staff credit, they make adjustments. They decide to go with outside zone and off tackle, power. And all of a sudden, the running game opened up. It changed how they were going to be defended. And then, because 12 personnel is so versatile, and thankfully they didn't get away from their run, but their tight ends were all over the place. They're hard to guard because they don't just line up conventionally. You talked about no one making winning plays or playing winning football. 2 guys wanted to win that game. They made winning football plays. Gunnar Olszewski, who punched out an interception in the end zone. Motor Singletary in a must-have play. He stopped short of the line of scrimmage and ended up with maybe 18 yards on that play.
Yeah, that pass by Russell Wilson on the 3rd down.
Those are winning football plays. Those are the plays that if you're on the other side of the ball, you look at it and you say, let's get our mess together. But it's just a situation where every week there's a special team screw up, there's a defensive breakdown, and how about this? The offense vapor locks when you need them to do it least. Procedure. So you go from the 35-yard line to the other side of the 50.
Right.
They've done that in key moments of games as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is why you spread the blame. It's a team game, right? You spread it across the board. The Singletary play was early in the 4th quarter, 3rd and 1. Wilson just sidearms him the ball. There's a guy right there. They stop him short of the sticks. And Singletary, with extra effort, goes 41 yards, right? And now they're running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't get the touchdown, right? You have 2nd and goal at the 1. Singletary loses a yard. You had 3rd and goal at the 2. Wilson drops back, but he's panicking when he's dropping back. He takes off. But the fact that you had a 1st and goal at the 7 and Singletary runs it for 6 and you got a 2nd and goal at the 1 and you lose a yard, like that right there, you got to just deliver the hammer, right? That you go up 24-10. Now it's 2 clean touchdowns. And the offensive line didn't win when you needed them to win.
The points.
No,
right.
I know you
but
take
they
the
got
points.
you there. They got their points, right?
Because
they were having their way. They were having their way offensively, and to not get points in that situation would have been more detrimental to their efforts to win the game than to get the extra 3 and go up 10.
I'm not saying go for it. I know a lot of people saying you should have gone for it there. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is after Singletary runs it for 6 yards and you have 2nd and goal at the 1, you have 2 plays to get that ball in the end zone. Finish it. And this team doesn't finish. The offensive line in that spot didn't finish. The offense didn't finish. Yeah, I was all for kicking the points. I'm with you. And I know there's a lot of people who said they should have gone for it. No, I'm with you. Take the 3 points.
But the mentality, correct.
That should have never come down to someone needs to be getting in the end zone on 2 snaps inside the 2-yard line. And you didn't.
Yeah.
So that's why everybody's complicit in this. And then to me, you and I agreed with this. Again, your defense, which is much maligned, stops them on 4th and 3 from the Bears' 43-yard line. So now you're in position here to use a bunch of clock, pick up some first downs, move the ball down the field, and get some more points. Maybe you get 3 more points here to go up 13. It changes the pressure point for Chicago a little bit because now they know they need 2 touchdowns to beat you. And you get 5 yards on the first play. So you have 2nd and 5 at the Bears' 35-yard line. You can't get called for a false start. And on the next play, you can't get called for holding. And then you'll wind up having 2nd and 20. Now Wilson looks unbelievably panicked as he's back there when he drops back, whatever. They're just throwing it. Everyone knows they're just throwing it to the backs. And now you punt. And you only used a little over 2 minutes of the clock, and you went backward. Now you punted fine, and they're at the 11-yard line, so that was a good punt, right? That punt was 30 yards, but it was a fair call at the 9-yard line. So, okay, mission accomplished. And then you allow a 91-yard drive. But, that's what I mean. Everybody's complicit. The offense not finishing with a touchdown there. The defense gets a stop. Plus territory, and then you wind up going backward instead of going forward.
Yeah,
and then you give up a 91-yard drive, and that's why they're 2-8.
Correct, and it's the mental stamina that I've been talking about, folks. It's like having a sense of let's finish this. We got to lead. Let's do things. Let's pay attention to the details. You give up the 91-yard drive with 3 big plays, and 2 were runs, if my memory serves me correct. And it's like, come on, at some point, either change the math or play better. And one of the reasons why I don't have a lot to say in terms of what went wrong in the film and look at the coach's tape is because I listened. You know what the player said? I'm not saying it because I think there's an issue with the scheme and coaching based on my observations. But your best player stood at his locker and they asked him a very pointed question. This is a theme with Jordan Renan. After games, he will ask a player what needs to change. Is it coaching? Is it players? Dexter looked at him and said, players. We got to play better, right? Theo Johnson He's talking, what went wrong, Theo? He's like, we're so close, but we keep messing up as players. We got to execute. We can't make these mistakes. We've got to make sure that we cover every detail. So two things can be true, right? For as vanilla as this offense is, and that's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing. It's about execution. It could be a better thing if he changes it up. It can also be a better thing if you can make plays. But when you hear players legitimately say that it's on them, that they're not making plays, there's a reason why maybe this defense is so vanilla, to try to make sure guys can make plays and feeling like they don't need to do certain things. Like, I've been in defenses, obviously mine were better, but where we decided we wanted to play one coverage the whole game. We played cover two the whole game. And here were our adjustments on it. And everybody knew it, but we executed it. And if we wanted to change the math, we still play cover two behind it. And I've been thinking about this a lot, Bob, and I didn't want to put it out there, but just something that, and I kind of got a better, as you get older, you kind of have a better understanding of things coaches say when you kind of get to them in real life, right? We used to play, and I heard it when I was a player, then I heard it again when I was working in the front office with the Jets with Bill Parcells. And I used to sit in coaches' meetings. And there would be practices that the Jets would have that just weren't great. And there would be a position group that just wasn't performing. And the head coach, Bill Parcells, would come in and he would scream at his assistant coaches. And he would say, you expletives are not going to get me fired because you can't do your job. I used to hear when we played, and I didn't quite know what the background of that was, because I guess obviously certain conversations happen in coaches' meetings, right? Now, that's not something every coach does. I suspect that every head coach will challenge position coaches that are not doing certain things. But I look at this, and I look at this situation, and it just reminds me of things that Bill Parcells said to his staff. Because as much as one side of the ball is developing, the other side is stagnant at best. And then you have the most inconsistent special teams. Like the coverage guys picked it up again. They went back to playing as good as advertised. And then you got a kicker, another kicking situation. Like, sense of situation, understanding that it takes focus. It's not routine when you're trying to win a game. Nothing is routine about it. But, I go back to hearing Coach Parcells say that, and now I understand why. I understand why he coached his coaches the way he did. Again, that's probably not who Coach Daboll is, but I understand now why head coaches are so demanding of assistant coaches. And when they take their hand off and things don't change. Now, I'll say this. The reason Bill Parcells said that is because the buck stops with him, right? So as bad as the Giants defense has been, the head coach stands there and answers the questions because he's the head coach of the whole team, not of just the offense, not of just the areas that are doing good, right? So he wants to keep the good parts going. You got to get the other side going too. what does that look
Right.
like? Right? What are those conversations like? And so it's totally unrelated to what we're seeing here, but I kind of understand
But it might be
why.
related.
Yeah, yeah, it
It
is,
might be
but it's not.
related. I mean,
Bill
what's the
has Bill
definition of
had his own
insanity?
unique, doing the same
Right.
thing and expecting a different
A
result.
different result. I mean,
Bill
you've
had
been
a
out.
Bill had a different hand. He had a heavy hand, right? And
Well,
I don't
correct.
know, but I do know this: when this is all said and done, there are going to be some good coaches that are going to be out of work as a result of some bad areas of the team, right? Um, I have no prediction. I have no insight. But you lose like this, there are going to be changes.
Yeah.
We
I
know that,
mean,
right? And I'm going to say this: whatever those changes are going to be, you still got 6 games left. I'm not the eternal optimist, but I'm saying y'all got to make something of this. If you as players keep saying y'all got to do better, it's on y'all, then the other team don't have to oblige you. That's the thing about it. You keep saying we got to do this. The other team doesn't have to oblige you. You're obliging them by letting them go 91 yards on you. You're obliging them by having at crucial times in the game by having 3 procedural calls and a sack. Right? You're obliging them. If you're saying it's something you guys got to do, then effing do it, because the other team is looking at you as, so I'm gonna get in trouble again. Oh, welcome, Matt. They're looking at you like, well, we can come back because they're gonna allow us to, right? And if your players keep saying this, then understand it takes more than just your effort. You've got to will yourself to win, whether it's a 10-point victory or a 3-point victory or a 20-point victory. You got to be able to hit the hammer. Just carrying the hammer don't mean nothing. When these other teams are trying to come back, you got to be able to swing it, and they're not. And that's so it's a combination, and it's embarrassing. And
well,
it's more embarrassing than it is infuriating to me right now, because I can look
well,
at a group of guys, a collective, and say that you're much better than this. But I warned in the preseason, you got to earn the right to rush the passer. That means you got to stop the run, and they haven't.
but and the other problem with yesterday, Carl, is, and again, you don't get to 2-8 because of one thing. You get to 2-8 because of a myriad of things. You don't
Mhm.
get outscored in the fourth quarter by 47 points. You don't blow these epic leads, the Dallas game, the Denver game, and now the Chicago game, without it being collective. And in all 3 phases of the game
Mhm.
participate in this, right? Some more than others, but at the end of the day, it's a team thing. And it's coaching,
Mhm.
it's players, it's not making a play. But the thing about this game, here's the thing about this game, here's the thing about the Denver game that really jump out at me. You mentioned the hammer. Where were your best players in those games
Mhm.
delivering the hammer on defense? And they're not making, like, at the end of the day, they had numerous opportunities, and the best players on the Giants
Mhm.
up front. I mean, Caleb Williams is pirouetting all over the place. He's
Mhm.
looping around. He's extending plays. He looks like Fran Tarkington, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson wrapped up into one.
And Randall Cunningham.
Right. At some point, your best players, whether it's the Pro Bowl defensive tackle, whether it's the edge rushers, whether it's the guy that's leading the league in sacks, whether it's the 3rd overall pick in the draft, your best players, at some point, they got to get that guy to the ground. There was so many
Yeah.
just missed, almost got a
Mhm.
hand on him, spun out of it. dove, couldn't get his heel, couldn't get his ankle. Like, because if you are compromised at these other positions, and maybe these other position groups are not nearly as good as they projected them to be coming into the season, those guys in those moments have to be the eraser, right? They got to be the one that lifts the tide. And that's what you guys did. And that's what winning Giants teams have done. And they don't do it.
But here's the thing. When you struggle all year, I'm sorry, all game, you're getting pressure and the guy keeps escaping. Change the math when they least expect.
There you go. I knew you're right. You're 100% right.
Change the math.
Make it so that when he drops back, he's like, oh, crap, what is this?
Yeah, well, I thought one of these guys were going to drop out. Well, they just brought 5, or they brought 6. And I thought I was going to read the rush at these 4 guys, and my offensive linemen are talking, and they're just going to. But again, change the math, and that's a coaching decision. Only they can answer that. But they're failing at utilizing this talent. And it's a shame. It's embarrassing. But I'm going to just say 2 things can be true. When the players stand at their lockers after these games and say it's on us, well, that's part of something they're saying that's true. It ain't just covering up for their coaches. There are some things out there on the field that they feel that they could have done better. And then as I sit here in my observations, I think they have a math. They have an arithmetic problem because the teams that are the most basic are the most predictable if they're not fundamentally sound, right? You can be basic, and if you're fundamentally sound, you're making plays. And if you can do just enough, you can change it up at crucial points of the game where it just disrupts everything that the offense was expecting. They never changed the math. The Giants never rushed more than 4. They rushed 3 sometimes, but they never rushed more than 4 the entire game. And that math can change in the run game. It can also change in the pass game. And that's, the insane part about it. Same runs get you because you're in the same looks and nothing changes. And you can't play it better to stop it. So I'm not gonna sit here and go through. I mean, maybe later on, I'll finish this tape. But right now, it's pretty obvious what we're seeing, and without saying who did what wrong, I can tell you none of them did enough to get it done. And offensively, or defensively, or special teams, there were crucial mistakes, and that's just not winning football. And people often are starting to question the depth of the Giants, and I'm not quite sure how to interpret that. People say, "Well, blame Joe Shane for not creating depth." They have depth. The question is, are they any good, right? And if that depth is any good, is it better? Like I look at other teams. They got guys that come off the street too. Some of them were on the Giants practice squad, right? But when there's guys that are inactive that played really good football to make the team as wide receivers, and then you go get another guy, and whatever the fascination is with him, I didn't evaluate him, so I can't tell you. But little Jordan Humphrey, all he did is when you brought him up, he made plays for you. And then you just kind of decided you want to do something different. So you brought another guy in. Ray, was it Ray? His name?
Yeah, because little Jordan Humphrey was out of elevations. Little Jordan Humphrey's out of elevation, so you have to sign him to the active roster. They signed 2 linebackers to the active roster instead because of the injuries.
Fowles did a good job too.
Yeah, but he's already on the active roster. Zaire Barnes and Tamon Fox were signed. But to me, I don't get the Humphrey thing, and I don't understand. You can't elevate him. Bo Collins goes on IR. You elevate McLeod, and you can't sign little Jordan Humphrey to the active roster, but you're not playing Jalen Hyatt. He's the only guy that got no snaps yesterday. What's the point?
Yeah. And these are only questions coaches can answer. But
it's not why they lost either.
Well, it ain't why they won, because they didn't win. Right? Him being on the bench didn't contribute to a loss or a win, but who knows what it could have been, right? But the offense continues to get better. The defense is either stagnant, which is not good, or worse. Special teams have contributed to every single loss that they've had. And it just circles back in my head. Now I see why, and I haven't been around a lot of different head coaches, but I know Tom Coughlin was similar in how he demanded certain things of his coaches. But when he said, now I get it, you blanks ain't gonna get me fired because you can't do your job. This season, this record is gonna result in change.
Yeah, I mean they're 2-8. They're 2-8 for the third year in a row.
Yeah, I mean, again,
last year it was 2-12.
I keep saying it, and it's hope against hope, right? Because I view this thing from a lens of I look at talent as if I were amongst them and see what I have in my locker room and what's on the schedule. There's enough to win some games. But it's not me, it's not my era, and my expectations for this group has nothing to do with what they want for themselves. Because if they keep saying it's us, it's us, it's us, not my words, theirs, then you either gonna fix it or you not. Again, it's the same dirty diaper analogy, right? You're gonna walk around and smell like crap, or you're gonna get your diaper changed and be fresh and go do something. It's just, it stinks, but they know it because they keep saying it, but nobody wants to do anything about it. And that's unfortunate, but that's them. And
well,
it's embarrassing, but I'm beyond getting upset with anybody. I shut up and let them talk, and you guys can decide what you hear is BS or not, because they are telling you, the beat writers are asking the questions, they're giving you the answers. I'm giving you observations. And then the coaches will talk on Wednesday, and the beat writers will ask them questions. Hopefully they'll ask, how come you never changed the math on defense?
Unfortunately, the losing mentality is there. It's seeped in. It's baked in. It's no matter how good something's going, it's like you're waiting for the sky to fall. And unfortunately, it's manifesting itself. And we'll get into a preview of the Packers later in the week, Carl, because we're gonna have to talk about
another
the quarterback
beatable
situation.
Team.
Right, we're gonna have to talk about the quarterback situation because I think there's been 2 or 3 Giants already this year that have gone into the concussion protocol. And again, it's not a Giants decision. This is an independent testing that happens. There's stages of the protocol. So it's out of the Giants' hands now. But I will just say this. The previous 2 or 3 players for the Giants that have gone into the concussion protocol this year did not play the next week. And the league, I think the independent observers and whatever testing they're doing, less and less guys are being or leaving a game with a concussion, going through the protocol and being on the field the following week, which is probably a good thing.
Right.
So we're going to have to talk in the preview. We'll talk about the quarterback situation and what they're going to do with that, because I have some thoughts on that.
More so than that. Well, so here's the thing. I talked about the defensive coordinator, the defensive staff changing the math. Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka, you know what these guys can't do? Give them something they can do. You can't run your offense. You can't run Jackson Dart's offense with Russell Wilson. You definitely can't run it with Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston's got a rocket. His arm is live. Put things in there that he can execute. 12 personnel, he can run that from under center. He just can't run your quarterback runs, right? Jameis is good out of the shotgun too. So when eventually, if the league says your guy's out, he's sitting, I don't want to see a struggling offense because it's the same thing you asked Jackson Dart to do. These are different quarterbacks, but both have a skill set. One is just kind of just reading the rush. The other guy, if Jameis is your guy, put stuff in there he can do.
Yeah, just look at what Sean Payton did in New Orleans when they brought Jameis, who was throwing a zillion interceptions, and he was there as the backup, and he had to play. And the best ball of Jameis Winston's career were those 7 or whatever, however many games he played in New Orleans under Sean Payton. He didn't turn it over. He didn't make a lot of hero plays, but they were winning games. And it was the best ball he ever played. If you're looking at quality play, not numbers, because he put numbers up all over the place, but they always came with a caveat of interceptions. Anyway, we'll get into all of that when we do the preview on Thursday. How do you like to end this thing?
Tell a friend to tell a friend. Believe in Giants.